Hi guys, I'm Michael Coronis, and in this video I will be discussing with you about the ratio analysis. A ratio analysis compares figures from a company's financial statements to give stakeholders a snapshot of a company's financial health. These ratios cover four main areas of liquidity, leverage, activity, and profitability. JCPenney has a competitive advantage in the area of liquidity over its chief competitors of Macy's, Kohl's, and Nordstrom's. Liquidity ratios highlight how likely a company is able to pay off its debts in the event of going out of business. JCPenney has about its only advantage over competitors in this area, besides Kohl's. The company has returned a profit in several years with debt mounting year over year. The company has pivoted from strategy to strategy, which has become very costly for it as CEO after CEO has mounted debt and burned cash. To keep their current ratio above industry average has been incredible. The more telling figure would be their quick ratio within the industry, which examines a company's most liquid assets like cash, marketable securities, and receivables against their current liabilities. Again, to have the higher industry average while hemorrhaging debt is incredible. These figures are likely to dip in future years as their long-term debts become current, and in the event that JCPenney is able to turn the table and start turning a profit, they will not need to have as high of a current ratio. It only gets worse from here for JCPenney, as their leverage, activity, and profitability ratios all are last in comparison with chief competitors. Leverage ratios analyze a company's debt to their equity, as well as how a company is doing in repaying their interest on loans. These ratios do not paint JCPenney in a good light, as they have over 5 times as much debt to equity and are barely making their interest payments. This is a mortgage that will take more than a few good quarters to fix. The goal of lowering debt will be difficult for JCPenney, as they have already started down the path of selling off store locations, which is only lowering their property value while also losing lease spaces in malls, and even sold off their headquarters in Texas to gain some quick cash. These figures will turn many investors away, since if JCPenney does go out of business, there is going to be little to no cash left over to pay back investors. Activity ratios may be the second best ratio category for JCPenney. Even though they are still last in comparison of its competitors, activity ratios compare how efficient a company is in their operations. For example, how much inventory is being moved and how quickly are accounts being paid. These ratios are below average compared to the rest of the industry. While keeping a solid activity ratio of paying off short-term payables and inventory turnover, it still doesn't compare to other industry leaders. JCPenney has the lowest accounts payable turnover ratio, with direct competitors Macy's having a ratio of nearly 5 and Nordstrom's being over 5. JCPenney's inventory ratio is below 4, while the industry average is over a 6. The lack of selling the same amount of inventory will eventually lead to a downfall, and these accounts payable turnover will continue to trend down as debts mount. Vendors will be less likely to give products on credit as JCPenney becomes unreliable to repay their debts. Lastly, there are profitability ratios, which show investors the likelihood of earning a profit from their investment and how much profit a company is making off the use of its assets. These ratios are what determines how successful the company is really doing, if they are properly utilizing their assets and equity to turn a profit. JCPenney has negative ratios, which means they didn't turn a profit. The comparisons with competitors in the industry can't be done until JCPenney has turned some sort of profit. Even if they did, it would be an uphill battle, as competitors have consistently utilized their assets and equity for above average returns. Specifically Nordstrom, who recorded a 0.65 return on assets in comparison to JCPenney, who had a negative 0.22 return on assets. If these trends continue, the other department stores would benefit greatly on JCPenney customers, while JCPenney would succumb to its debt.